Hey y'all, I thought today we'd talk about lighting for alt builds, MOCs, any of those sorts of things, and specifically when dealing with modulars or buildings of the type that I normally deal with. And so I mentioned the other day that I had ordered a bunch of parts to finish out my row of modulars, which is mostly alt builds, actually. There's only two official Lego sets in there. And so I'd ordered just a bunch of parts, and I've been asked this before, and I've kind of talked about this kind of in passing a couple of times. But I thought I would do a video specifically dedicated to figuring out what to order and then what to use for alt builds or MOCs or, anything that doesn't come with a kit. So I'm going to pull a alt build out of my city and kind of talk through my thought process and, what I do to order all those parts. Okay, so before we get into the building, I want to show you kind of the components that we need to think through. So first and probably most importantly, I don't know if most importantly, because these are all pretty important things. But we have the actual light itself. So there's a couple different styles. There's this single LED style that come with different lengths attached to them. So I ordered from Game of Bricks, and they come in two lengths. I think... Oof, now I'm put on the spot. I think it's 30 centimeters and 15 centimeters. And so, depending on how much cable you want to deal with or how much cable you need, depends on which one you need to use. Then there's these little light strips. They come in two different sizes. This is the larger size. This is the smaller size. And we'll talk about some different applications for both of those. And the one thing to note about these is that they have connectors on both ends. I'm sorry. They have female connectors on both ends, and the individual LEDs have a male connector on the end. And then there's also these LED strips. If you saw my last video with Majesto's, or I guess it was a couple of videos, with Majesto's workshop, and there's that cool lighting effect with the different color lights up there. That's one of these guys just laying in there curled like this. But again, this has just a single male connector on the end, but it's got a whole bunch of LEDs tied to it. So that's the lights. And then these are the kind of connector cables. Again, male to male connector. They come in various different lengths. I think this is also probably about 30 centimeters. They come in a whole bunch of different lengths. I think 50 centimeters is what I use to connect buildings together. Those are the real long ones. I think this one's 30. I think they come in 15, 10, and 5. I think this is a 5. So they come in various different lengths. Again, you just kind of have to have a random assortment of these to know kind of what length you have, because you don't, or what lengths you're going to need, because you don't really know until you get into the thick of it. And then you got these connectors. And so these are all female connectors. And these are all just kind of tied together. And they just connect everything together. So if you have male connectors, you need to have one of these to connect these together so that, you can add more lights to it or whatever, or get power in. The one thing to keep in mind that I always tend to miscalculate is I can only put 7 lights into this connector. Even though there are 8 female connectors here, I can only do 7 lights on this because one of these connectors needs to give me power. Okay? Now, there's ways around that, but for generally, you have to account for 1 less light than there is connector size because you need to get power into this board. They come in different sizes. I think 12, 8, 6, 4, 3, and 2 are kind of the sizes that I keep around, and I mostly use 6 and 8s a lot. And then 3s and 4s for kind of small things like trees and things like that. Then the 2s are useful if you just need to extend something, because if you need to extend one of these to get to wherever you're going, you need to have a female to female connector. So that's a 2 circuit or a 2 connector board to attach a second line on here. You could also use a 3 and just have an empty plug. That's fine too. But anyways, so those are kind of the components that you need to have kind of sorted out before you get into it. And the last thing, and maybe the most important thing, is you need to have some sort of power into it. Now, as you've seen before, I hook up several houses to one of these, or several different connection points into one of these. But you know, if you just want to do one-to-one, you know, you'll still need this. But this is the power in, and then just goes into one of these male little connectors. So there's all the components. And let's go look at a alt build, and I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking about adding into it. Okay, so this is the alt build using multiple copies of Emma's Art School. This was a super fun art build, or sorry, super fun alt build. One thing I don't like about it that I might try and fix before this gets finished up is I'm going to fix this gap, I think. I don't really like that gap there. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't like the gap. But anyways, okay, so let's kind of take a look at the outside here. We got some windows. The backside I'm not going to worry about because it's the backside. And especially in my city, you never see the backside, which is good because this is a really ugly backside. But anyways, the front side looks great. And so the couple things we got to think about is, are there any lights on the exterior or anything on the exterior that we need to light up for sure? Typically, I like to think if there's any sort of like awning over a window, or if the window is recessed. I'll show you a couple other examples here in a minute. But if there's an awning or if the window is fully recessed, I like to put a little single LED up underneath here. But if it's a big arch, I'll use one of those LED strips to get a couple up in there. But this one, I will definitely want to put a single LED kind of right here in the middle. Just to give a little bit of light on the front side, and it'll really highlight these kind of planter boxes, which is kind of nice. I think I'm going to need 1 or 2 LEDs underneath here. Just to kind of illuminate this area here, especially because there's no street light or outside light, which is a little bit annoying. And I might change. I might add a little like pole light or something out front here, or maybe swap this out for like one of my normal like street light looking things. But okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. We need 3 single LEDs there. We need at least 1 underneath here. And then this probably needs something. I think I'm supposed to have the Emma's Art School sticker up here maybe, or some sort of sticker or something up here. And so I think I'm going to put a light kind of right in here to shine on this. Just so it gives that a little bit of depth and lights that up. But I think that's it for the outside. Now, if there was a light sticking off like here, I would definitely light that. I might stick 2 lights down in here to kind of cast some light up on this. So I might get like 3 lights in this very small little area. I think that might help kind of add to this whole little look and just cast a little bit of light on these guys. But okay, so that's it for the exterior. The other thing you need to kind of be thinking about as you're going through this is kind of where wires are going to go. Since, again, in my city, I don't see the backsides of buildings much, especially where this guy is. I'm just going to run them out the back and around because that's easy and you don't see it anyways. But in other situations, you will need to pass them through floors and find corners and nooks and crannies or stairwells or whatever to kind of get them down through. Okay, so let's pop off these layers and let's start at the bottom. And so on the inside, hold on, let me change the camera angle. Okay, so there's nothing particularly interesting about this inside. There's no lamps, there's no fireplace, there's no other sort of like lighting feature. And so this is going to be a really easy lighting job. And I'm just going to put one of those double strips on the bottom side of the next floor up and call that done. And the reason I use the lighting strips is because you usually want at least 2 sources of light inside of a room. Your eye/brain is not used to seeing light from a singular source. And so if you just put a singular LED on the bottom, which would probably give enough light, that's going to look really weird to your brain because the shadows are going to be really stark. And your brain's just not going to know what to do with some of that information. And so just something as simple as just that little 2 strip right up underneath is perfect. And so I suspect that's probably what the motto is going to be for most of this. I'm trying to carefully split these floors. No, actually, okay. So this one, there is a little, there's a little like lighting or like camera studio here. So I might actually throw a light into here, just to kind of give it a little bit of something. And so that kind of throws a wrench into the plans of just passing a wire on up through, right? So I have an input coming into the bottom here. And I will probably hook up all of these into the inside here. So I'm going to need at least a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to need at least a 6 in there. And I'll have one extra spot, which is good because that will go up. So I'll have 4 lights going into there. I can pass the strip light through one of these leads because it's got that female to female, so it can just go in line. And so then I'll have power coming into there, and then I'll have one more lead coming up to this level. And this level, I'll probably need a 3 connector. Nope, 4 connector, because I'll do, nope, I can do 3. I can do 3. I'll have one coming in, one going out, and then one going into the strip that I would put on the bottom side of this next layer up, and then one to go in this light right here. And it would just stick inside there. And so I just got one little string going between coming out of the board into that little one that would be on the bottom side of this floor and then into that light. And so that would be that floor. Oh, nope, I lied. I'm going to have a 6 because I got to pick up this light out here too. So I got to have a 6 in there. So I'm going to have one empty space, which is fine. It's fine to have empties. And then I'm going to go up one more level. We're getting really close to the camera. Ooh, that's ready for a close-up. Okay, so again, nothing special to light in here. I do need to grab the other light that was on the front here. And so I will probably need some sort of connector. Oh, and I'm going to need one. Whoop, you can't see that. I'm going to need one here, remember, because this is what's lighting up that kind of circle thing that's right here. So I'm probably going to need like a 4 connector up here to get this, and then the little light, and go on up to the top. The top, hold on, I'm going to pull you back a little bit. Sorry if you get a little motion sick. Oop, boop, 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 boop. On this top, I said I'm going to need something to light up this. And I might do something on the top here to light up this tree. Let me back you up just a little bit more. Because I feel like that tree maybe needs a little bit of light on it. And like I said, if I put a 4 up top here, I'll have some extra openings there. And so I could also light the 2 little side arches and this arch maybe. But I'll kind of wait to see when I get there, because I don't need to make a quick decision about that. I also just had a thought as I'm doing this. The lights down here, I have strobing colored lights. And so I might stick those down in there because I think that might be fun. I also have that same strip that I used on the Majesto's workshop, and maybe that would be fun to kind of stick in here and let this be multicolored, kind of changing randomly. That might be super fun too, since it is an art school. That could also be a good place to use down here as well. So I'll kind of need to think about that too, where that might be fun and useful to use that, because that certainly would be a fun feature to add into this. Okay, so that's kind of the rough overview. So hopefully that made sense. I know that was a little bit quick, and I'll try to actually do a video of this when I actually do this one, because I think that'll be fun to kind of see that. There is one other thing we need to talk about, but I need to grab a couple things to demo it. And so give me 1 second and I'll show you that. Okay, so the last thing we didn't talk about is color of lights. For the most part, except for some very unusual circumstances, I just buy white lights. However, it is not as simple as just buying white lights. There are 2 basic options for white light. You have warm light and cool light. And on camera, you can actually see this pretty clearly. This is like more yellow, orange, or warm. And this is more blue and cool colored. And while it doesn't make a huge difference, it actually kind of does when you start to put a bunch of these into a building. I generally lean more towards the warm white because it's just a little bit softer. And especially for like older looking buildings or, you know, things like that. I lean more towards these for modern looking buildings. So if you noticed my music club disco scene down on the end of Restaurant Row uses cool lights because it's more of a modern look to it. I'm trying to think what else uses the cool lights. I think maybe, I don't know. But anyways, I will definitely be using these in my Queer Eye alt build on the end because, again, it's got that very modern kind of look to it. I would not have used this in the old train shed. Like, I think that would look atrocious. So you can kind of see this a little bit on camera. I'm going to turn off my overhead lights here in a minute, and I'll show you kind of the difference on this white piece of Lego because it's a little bit clearer there, but it'll be real clear in the dark. The other thing to keep in mind, and I know I just grabbed strips because these were easy to show you, but when you are mixing colors, as in you are putting some sort of trans piece over top of an LED, you need to be very careful about what color you use. If you put a trans yellow piece over this cool white light, it's going to look like trash because it's kind of that blue mixing with yellow, giving this weird like lime gross green color. Whereas if you put this over, this is yellow/orange mixing with more yellow, and that looks great. And so the other side of the spectrum works too. But a little bit less obvious, putting this with like blue or purple gives you a kind of more of a warmish color that you may or may not want. Whereas if you put it with this, you're gonna get more of the same color. And so it's super important when you're thinking about this. When I first went to do all of my lights along my walls, I accidentally put a couple cool lights in there because they got mixed up because there's no way to tell unless you turn them on. And it just looked god-awful because it's a trans yellow bulb, or it's a trans yellow piece with LED in it, and the cool white looked absolutely like trash. So you want to go with the warm white. But yeah, let me turn off some lights and then we'll take a look at this. Okay, so this is going to be a perfect example because I had to leave a little bit of light on just so I could see what I was doing. But there's with the warm light on this white piece, you can see it's kind of like a more natural kind of sunlight color. And then there it is with the cool light on it, and you can see it's a little bit more blue, a little bit more white, for lack of a better term, and definitely much more stark. And you can see on the table the reflection color difference. It doesn't help that this table is wood, and so it kind of shows up a little bit more the difference because this really highlights the wood color and this very much doesn't. But so it's super important to definitely make sure that you grab the right color LED. I don't think I have a warm white LED that's not installed right now to show you the difference in a bulb. But trust me, you want to make sure that you put similar colors. So if you got cool colors, yellow, orange, red, you want to use the warm light. If you got the cooler colors, which would be green, blue, purple, any of those types of colors, you want to use the cool white. Now, if you're using clear, you want whichever one you actually want, right? There, you can really see the color difference there. But yeah, so making sure that you order the right one and then subsequently use the right one is equally important. Okay, let me show you just a couple examples in my city of some things to keep in mind when you are designing or figuring out what lights to use where. Okay, so this is a great example of using a light underneath a facade. So you can see there's just a singular light stuck up underneath because that's kind of a recessed area. And so you want to get some light down here on the windowsill. Otherwise, it's going to look really dark on the outside. And I know I left the overhead lights on, but that's mostly so we could kind of see kind of what's going on. But you definitely want a warm white in there. Let's see here, where else? You can see down here, I used cool white. And then I used a strobing color in there to kind of do like a disco looking thing. These are obviously effects lights, and we're not going to get into that. Here's another great example. You want to have little lights on it because this is a recessed window. So having lights underneath there. Again, recessed area, you want to make sure that you accent that. You know, more things. Over here with the parking garage. So like you have like the garage lights are cool white. But like around here when you're going up to the dentist's office, it's warm white. I think that's a cool little contrast because, you know, obviously when you're working on cars, you want to be able to see well. And that's usually associated with cool light. But warm light's just kind of associated with kind of business and kind of warm things. And that's kind of the warm, fuzzy feeling you want when you go to the dentist. Again, you can see recessed areas are lit up underneath. Anything that has like a light outside does in fact have a light in it. So even like these little ones have lights in them. The flowers have lights in it just to accent that. Over here, some of the things that I've done. You can see I used a little piece here to add lights to be able to light up the signs so that you can see the signs. And then similarly over here, I wanted some light around the outside so you can see what was going on. So again, just used some lights on the outside there. Hopefully this was useful. And again, I'm going to be doing some more lighting because I have ordered parts to do, hopefully, the entire rest of this row. I was like, where'd that go? That's what's sitting on the desk right now. So hopefully I will get this whole row done here in the next little bit. Couple things to keep in mind. First off, when you order stuff, you're going to need to order a bunch of extra stuff because they sell them in packs usually. And so you're just going to end up with a lot of extra stuff, unfortunately. And so if you're doing a bunch of stuff, that's great. If you're not doing a bunch of stuff, that sucks. And unfortunately, there's no real way around that. There are some companies that will do singles, but you're going to pay more a little bit. So just kind of keep that in mind. And you always want to order extra because you don't want to get halfway through a project and realize that you're missing something because that just sucks. The other word of advice I will give you is if there is a kit that exists for it, buy the kit. Even if you augment the kit, that will at least get you a really good base. Most notably, I bought the kit for the bank here. It only sent one light for the chandelier in there. I added like 6 more lights in the chandelier because I felt like it needed more lights. I've left things off and I've just kind of kept those pieces for later and I have reused those pieces for later. But if there is a kit, buy the kit that will get you half of the way or all the way there. So hopefully that helps. Let me know in the comments if you got any questions. Make sure you like and subscribe for some more stuff because there is a lot more stuff coming. More lighting stuff, more building, more decisions about that elephant in the room with the mountain. And yeah, thanks y'all.